Masha Hemmerling here from Paper, Paint and Palette Inspirational Online Art Studio, and today I will be showing you three different ways how you can introduce your preschoolers to the color mixing theory. We will be using CMY primary colors, which stands for cyan, magenta, and yellow, and we will be mixing those colors, primary colors, in order to make secondary colors with mixing them in different combination. And we will be using three different ways of mixing those colors, and those three different ways of mixing those colors. So let me, I think will be more interesting to the preschoolers because they are fun ways of mixing colors. Start with the first mixing of the colors, and all what you're going to need is a Play-Doh and a piece of paper that will be divided into 6 squares if you want, and each square will have a little circle inside. So I will show you how you can use it. So first color, let's put over here cyan. Then over here we will have, oh, you know what? I think that's a little bit too dark to be cyan. I accidentally took a different bottle. Let's go. Okay, so we have cyan over here. We have magenta over here, and we have yellow. So we will put C for cyan, M for magenta, and let me put it all over here so you can see. And yellow will be over here. You can tell your students to take a little bit of cyan into their hands, put them into the circle, and smear into the shape of a circle. So that's a first primary color, cyan. Oops, second primary color, sorry for that. Second primary color is magenta. You give them, I'll let them take a little bit of magenta, just enough to fill up the circle, and tell them that they need to put it inside of the circle and smear it in the shape of a circle or any other shape you want them to, in the shape of a flower or a butterfly. And the last but not least, let's take this other smudges away. Let's take yellow, also kind of form a ball, and put this in a third circle. Okay, so those are the primary colors. We already talked about cyan, magenta, and yellow winning our color competition. Red, blue, and yellow is not primary colors anymore. We finally learned that in 21st century, it's already a proven fact that cyan, magenta, and yellow are the primary colors, because when you combine them together, they create beautiful secondary colors, which is not happening when you combining together red, blue, and yellow. All right, so let's start our mixing. And what we will be doing first, we will be mixing cyan and magenta. And for this square, I will put C plus M, stands for cyan and magenta, and we will get purple or violet, depends on how much cyan or magenta we will put in this mix. I would prefer to get some 50-50. Now, for this square, we will combine magenta and yellow together, and we will get orange. And for the last square, we will combine together cyan and yellow. And we're supposed to get green. It's pretty simple, but it's very fun, and I love combining these colors together. So let's start. Let's start cyan plus magenta. what you need to ask your students or your children is mix them, knead them in your hands until the color will be completely one consistency. It's not gonna be having all these stripes of blue and magenta. As you can see, this is not mixed well. Excuse me for that. So what's happening is these colors start mixing into each other. They start interacting with each other, and they start blending into a nice, beautiful purple color. And more you knead in your hands, more it gets this saturated and gets, with no doubt, it turns into beautiful purple. Now, if you will be combining red and blue, the ones that we used to believe colors, you will get actually brown color. Okay, we completely mix these two colors together. Let's put our brand new purple color again squeezed into a square. Next we will be combining magenta and yellow, and let's see what type of orange we'll get. Okay, so I have a little bit too much of magenta. So a size that for the second circles, we will need half of the size that we gave our students for the first circle. And that, I hope, will give you idea. Sometimes magenta overpowers yellow, so either you take a little bit of magenta away or add a little bit of more yellow into the mix. And start knitting it together. You will end up knitting them along with your children, because I'm telling you, I can do that all day long. And it's very calming, it's very fun. No wonder children had a big interest in slime. There's some calming effect in knitting happening, and we're not baking bread from scratch anymore, so that's, I guess, our desire to knit something is satisfied with Play-Doh, with slime. So okay, make sure it's all even and color is solid. And there you go, our brand new orange goes into the circle that designed for orange in the square that says magenta plus yellow equals orange. Okay, there's some crumble. And make sure your students and you have clean hands before you touch next color. Next color will be yellow plus cyan over here. And we will start mixing them together. And according to our formula, according to our mathematical equation, it's supposed to get green in theory. And because we're taking correct colors to be our primary colors in this lesson, it will be green. It will be very beautiful green. Hard to believe because it's not mixed well yet, but let's knit. And be more patient. And as you can see, there are getting some green stripes between stripes of yellows and blues. They start interacting with each other, and those beautiful colors of the Play-Doh turn into the correct color that we predicted will be. So beautiful green color is born, and there you go. You ask your students to put this color in the third circle, and your color mixing project, your first color mixing project with your preschoolers will be done, and it's very fun, very happy project. And I just had an idea. You can ask children to draw different faces, just for fun. Okay, so let me show you second way of mixing colors with preschoolers. Let me replace caps on these bottles, and I will proceed to the next way. You again going to need a piece of paper divided into 6 squares, but this time we don't need circles unless you will decide you still need circles. I don't use circles for this one. And what we will be doing is I will show you 2 different ways of combining color, And those two different ways actually work from the distance. When you create them, you might not see that, but as you're gonna be moving aside and looking into your art piece from a distance, you will see that those colors are actually visually blended, and it's kind of like visual illusion, but it's actually this illusion is the base, the foundation of color in light. This illusion is created on the screen of the computer, TV, or phone. A lot of different dots, when they come together and you look at them from a side, they appear to be different colors. Excuse me for that. Alrighty, let's put again cyan over here, magenta and yellow. The first way, we will introduce our primary colors to our students by just simple scribbling. Now, preschoolers can do scribbling with no problem, right? So let's just do scribbling with them. The only thing I will suggest, tell your students not to do this, okay? We need those lines to be closer together, like this. Okay, so that's what we need from your students. And we don't need them to be very dark, okay, like that. We want them to be relatively light. And the next, right next to this, we will just, oops, I created few lines, but we actually need dots. We're going to create a lot of dots. So that's how we have our first primary color, cyan. Now for magenta, we'll do the same. And let me just quickly show you. So scribbling and then stippling. Stippling is practically the same style as pointillism, though pointillism is made with wet paint and stippling is made with dry art media. And now yellow, and again stippling, a lot of stippling over here. We need a lot of dots. You will hear a lot of tap, tap, tap sound noise in your classroom. All right. Next, what we are going to do, we will start to combining them together and mixing them together to create an illusion of secondary colors, because dry media does not really mixes with each other. They don't have the components of the wet paint or even Play-Doh. So dry media acts in a different way, and that's how we will be using it, but it still can be introduced to the younger kids. And first we will do cyan plus magenta. Again, these two together will be purple or violet. The next square, in the next square we will combine magenta and yellow, and we will get orange. In the third square we will combine cyan and yellow together, and we will get green. Let's start. So make sure your students will do absolutely the same what they did for the first part, and also make sure they will not gonna make the colors very dark and bright. Okay, so not a lot of strengths should be used in order to create scribbling lines or stippling. So again, we're gonna do scribbling lines with our cyan first, then we will do our stippling drawing style, style for the dry art media. And the next, we're just going to combine this on top of this. We will lay the same what we did here in magenta on top of the cyan colors. So we're gonna do the same scribbling with magenta color on top of the cyan color. And let's see how they will interact together. Okay. And then we're gonna do stippling on top of, with magenta on top of the cyan stippling. And we don't have to put dots on top of the dots. It's okay just to put dots of magenta between dots of cyan. And I would just let kids just do the dots. Some of them will be on top of each other, it's fine. Just tell them, make sure there will be not a lot of white. color of the paper visible. Now, what do we see here? We see here blue and magenta, I'm sorry, cyan and magenta dots. Over here we see two layers of cyan and magenta on top of each other. But if you will put this far, far away from yourself or from your students, this actually will turn into purple, because that's the visual illusion that created in our eyes when we look into things. Those little dots end up blending together and turn into one color. Now let's do the same for magenta and yellow. So some of your children will find it fun to scribble, to do stippling with dots, because who doesn't like at the preschool age to do a bunch of dots with bright colorful crayons, right? Okay, but the magic that will happen when they will go a little bit away from their art and look 10-20 feet away, and then the magic will appear. The illusion of colors, blended colors, will happen. So we're getting orange for magenta and cyan and scribbling, and we definitely will get orange after putting yellow dots on top of the cyan, magenta dots. And we will see from a distance again that those dots turn to orange color. They kind of blend together visually only, and that's the funnest part. And the last but not least, in this square we will combine cyan and yellow. The same scribbling, light first layer of cyan color, and then we will do dots for stippling effect, stippling art style. And it's okay even in preschool age to expose kids to those fancy words. Later in life they will not gonna have hard time remembering them. They don't have to maybe repeat them if it's hard to say stippling, but they can say dots. So we did this with cyan. Now I'm putting yellow together on the yellow dots on top of the cyan. And when you're gonna go aside from the distance, you will see that illusion happens again. It's gonna be turning into green. And the last, I will put yellow on top of the blue, and this is also visually turns into green. So this is the second way of introducing preschoolers to the color mixing theory, to the primary colors that create secondary colors. Okay, from cyan, magenta, and yellow, we're going to the purple, orange, and green. And the third, last way of introducing your students to the color mixing theory is using yogurt. I know it sounds fun, right? And what you need for that is vanilla flavored yogurt. Why vanilla? Because we need completely white yogurt. We don't want any more dyes into being put into the yogurt. The next thing we're going to need is actually things that I forgot to take out of my cupboard. So I guess that's okay. I will, you know what, I will use, what you're going to need actually eventually would be the wooden sticks, you know, like popsicle sticks. I forgot to bring them with me, but that's okay. I'll use the ends of my pencils. So you will need 3 dishes for each student, and scooping spoon. You will going to put a scoop, 1 dollop of yogurt in 1 cup, and 1 dollop of yogurt in the other cup. Let's make it a dollop. Okay. Next, what you're going to do, you let them put 1 drop of dye, or you can do it and have them already done and ready, sitting for your students and waiting to be combined together, or parents can help. Okay, so I have blue and I have red over here. So they're not pure cyan and pure magenta, but food dyes are a little bit different. So I'm not sure we're gonna get a nice purple or violet over here. We'll get some color that resembles purple. It will be more into neutral purples because it will be more looking like brownish purple, but that's okay. This is still very fun activity, and let's start mixing. And this activity is actually also can be fun because kids can lick their fingers and nothing gonna happen to them because it's just yogurt and a little bit of dye. So we don't want them to have too much dye at the same time. And for this we're going to, sorry for using end of my pencils, I just forgot to take popsicle sticks. Okay, so show kids. Okay, so you have red over here and you have blue over here. Let's now combine them all together in the third cup, and let's see what's going to happen when we will combine the two colors. Okay, so you can ask your children to scoop one color first, then scoop another color, and then tell them, now guys, start mixing. And if they think that it's too much blue, you can tell them it's like cooking. All right, then add a little bit of more red. If they'll think it's too much red, then you tell them, well, let's add a little bit more blue into the mix. And you see that it turns into like purple, brownish purple, just again because those are not magenta, those are not blue, cyan, it's just red and blue. But still we have some purple color with, I would say it's a tint of purple because yogurt was white, so it's a little bit white down purple. But it's still fun, it's so interesting. I can mix those colors again and again and again. You can do the same with adding yellow into red or yellow into blue. You'll get orange or green. I think you will enjoy this activity and color mixing using yogurt. I hope your students will have a blast. I wish you a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day for all mothers out there. And please tune in for more tips on color mixing and for free art tutorials. You can go to my website www.paperpaintandpalette.com. It was Masha Hemmerling, and I wish you all fun color mixing times. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.